Oh my goodness.
What's up, guys? Today I'm just going to show you kind of a weird way to throw a cast net that works extremely well. A lot of people don't like it when I do this, but what I'm going to show you works just about every time I do it. So I find it's very effective and I find it's very easy to learn. So if you're interested, check this out. Big tilapia, real nice one. Beautiful colors on that. Look at those stripes. A couple of these really nice mullet. I can get at least 2 baits out of this for big fish, 3 for smaller fish. That's a grass carp. Tiny one, but again, that's gonna make a beautiful gar bait or catfish bait. And then this nice common carp, which again, beautiful bait. And yes, he's moving, guys, but he is dead. This is a dispatched fish. Nerve endings often fire off in cold-blooded animals, even after they're dispatched, which is why you see a little bit of twitching here and there. But going to make a great bait. And we got a couple of these in there too, just these little shad. I would have put these back, but they came with the bigger fish, and when I dumped them in, I didn't see them. So we're gonna keep these now. Even though they're a bit tiny, they'll still be good for different stuff. If anything, we can chum the water by throwing these in before we cast. All right, for anyone who's curious, because I get a lot of comments about this, here's how I throw a cast net. You'll notice this has a loop closure. If you're fishing in an area where you think you might snag a big fish, I would recommend you go with something that has neoprene on it, or maybe even make your own. So instead of just resorting to going with the loop, maybe actually tie your own kind of like fast break attachment on here, so that if you do snag something big, it's not going to pull you in. But for today, I know that the fish in this little area of the bayou don't get too huge, so this is fine. Gonna make a loop with my finger, go down maybe 7 or 8 inches, maybe a foot, depending on how much room I have to backwind for my throw. So there's one loop. We're gonna do it again, same length, that's very important, and then one more time. So a loop on each finger, same length all the way down, and then I'm going to take this rope and I'm going to make small coils in my left hand. A lot of people prefer to coil it up in the throwing hand, but I don't, and that's just my preference. Come down here, you got the horn of the net. I'm going to look for a spot maybe a foot away from that, maybe a bit more, 1.5 feet. Pinch that between my thumb and forefinger, and when you spread out your arms, you kind of have a triangle. So there's 1 point, there's 2, and down there you've got your 3rd point. And I find that it's easier to get a better throw if you kind of bring your hands in and make a U out of it. I know I said a triangle, but you've got your triangle. Now bring those hands in a little bit. That gives you a little bit more power on the throw. This is the hand that's going to be putting a spin on the net. So bring both hands back. They're both going to go out together, but the right hand is going to do the swing to get a circle on it. Boom, fish in the net. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Wow. Now we have all the bait that we need today already. So I'm just gonna let these mullet go. There they go. Now, in addition to how to throw the net, huge factor, probably even more important actually, is location. You have an amazing location, and even a bad throw can get you a lot of fish. But to get as many species as I just did and as few throws as I just made, what you want to do is you want to look for certain features. Number one, I like to cast net when I know the water level is going to be low. You look back into this bayou, sometimes after heavy rains, the water is up to where my feet are right now. It's incredibly deep, incredibly powerful. I like to wait till the water gets as low as I can possibly let it get before the next rainstorm comes in. And that's when I hit the water for my bait. Second, if you look behind me, these city bayous, they vary in structure, but one thing that's almost always the same, no matter what city you're in, when you see these bayous run through a downtown area, they get lined with concrete to prevent erosion. This is a natural bayou. If you were to go on either side of the city, it looks like a bayou. It doesn't look like a concrete channel. This is to prevent it from undercutting all the buildings. But you'll notice these concrete channels are much, much thinner in some places than others. And if you look down below, if I go down there, you probably won't be able to see it. So hopefully you can spot it from up here with me. There is not only the initial channel, but a center channel that drops down, that runs in between the two banks. And that channel can be as narrow as 5 feet sometimes. So if you have a 5-6 foot cast net and you walk down there and scare those fish down into the channel, you're corralling all these fish into one spot and drop your net, not right over them, but just upstream. See, the thing is, there's always gonna be a certain amount of water flowing through these bayous, and that doesn't change based upon what happens to the bank. The water either slows down or it accelerates based on how wide or thin the banks are gonna be. And when the banks are made of concrete and the water can't kind of cut its way out into the side so it can slow down, when it's concrete, it's gonna force that water to continue to move very, very quickly. So if you're fishing an inner city area like this one, and you wanna fish these concrete channels, but the water is moving too fast for your net to stay open. See, if you throw your net right there, it's gonna close on the ground somewhere over there. A good way to avoid that is to look for a couple of different things. Another feature to watch out for are snags like this one. You guys can see the water almost turns into like a miniature set of rapids here. Miniature, but that's because there's a nasty set of snags in here. Shopping carts, bicycles, skateboards, shoes, tires, fire extinguishers. One time I was fishing down here and somebody threw a fire extinguisher over the bridge next to me and it exploded about 10 feet from where I was standing. But all of that ends up in here, and sometimes it gets bunched up and it forms a massive blockage in the water. You'll notice fast moving water that's pouring over the snag that way. But if we come upstream just a few meters, the water encounters that resistance and it backs up. It traffic jams basically. And it makes the water not only slower, but deeper. And that provides an amazing hangout for all kinds of bait fish. Another cool thing to look for are drains like this one that flow out into the bayou. What that does, not only does that provide a stream of nutrients into the water, but it can create a cross current, and that'll make eddies. So you can see there's an eddy right in front of that drain. Big patch of water circling back on itself. And I can see a school of fish in there feeding right now, because not only does it make it easier for them to sit in one place if they're not fighting the current, but any food that gets washed in is gonna hang out in that little area, and it makes their job a whole lot easier. That's why we get delivery instead of going out to the restaurant. Another feature I like to look for are these staircases cut into the sidewalk here. This will provide you a nice platform to get really close to the water without having to stand on the dangerous slopes. See, the biggest problem with these city bayous when you're trying to fish them is all of this nasty algae down here. So you could be standing on the dry part here, but as you bring your net back and forth, it's gonna get wet. And once you step on that wet concrete with that algae, it's like ice and down you go. So try to find a staircase like this one, or even a break in the concrete where you can see the rebar. Sometimes you'll find a crease that's had wear and tear over time from floods, kind of get peeled away, and you can see almost like a staircase of rebar. Even a feature like that is very, very helpful rather than trying to stand on this really dangerous sloping concrete. Now this is a 5-foot cast net, so it's not as small as they get, and it's definitely not as big as they get. But I do most of my fishing here in the city, and you can see that's a narrow little channel down there, and there's a lot of junk in it. I like to use a smaller net to kind of pinpoint the areas between the trash, the snags, to try to catch the fish. A big net would just get caught. This one, perfect. That's about it, guys. A lot of people are gonna criticize you for not doing something a conventional way. Basically, however the majority of people are taught. If you vary off of that, you're gonna get someone complaining about it. But as long as you can make a circle with that net and close it properly when it hits the desired level of depth, you're gonna do just fine. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. When you do, hit the bell. Check out the link to our Patreon page in the description. If you wanna help support the channel on Patreon, you get all kinds of great stuff. See the list in the description. More is coming, guys. Stay tuned, and until it's here, I will see you guys later.